Nero was born in the year 37 AD under the name Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus. His father died when he was young, and his mother, Agrippina the Younger, was one of the most ambitious women in Roman history. She was determined to place her son on the throne of the empire, no matter the cost. When she married Emperor Claudius, her plans took shape. Agrippina persuaded Claudius to adopt Nero, making him the official heir over Claudius's own son. In 54 AD, Claudius died suddenly. Ancient writers whispered that Agrippina poisoned him with mushrooms. Whether true or not, Nero became emperor at only 17 years old. At first, Rome welcomed this youthful ruler. He was handsome, eloquent, and seemingly more approachable than the paranoid Claudius or the insane Caligula. With his mother, Agrippina, and tutors like the philosopher Seneca guiding him, many believed Nero's reign could be an age of peace and culture. But beneath the promising start lay a dangerous truth. Nero had little interest in governing an empire. Politics and military campaigns bored him. What he longed for was the stage, the applause of an audience, and the glory of being admired not as a statesman, but as an artist. Rome had crowned an emperor, but Nero dreamed of being remembered as a performer. From the very beginning, Nero's passion for art consumed him. He practiced singing, acting, and poetry for hours, performing with his lyre. To Roman nobles, this was humiliating. Emperors were expected to command legions, not recite verses. The theater was considered a place for slaves and low-born entertainers, not rulers of the world. But Nero cared nothing for such traditions. He insisted on performing publicly, and he forced senators, generals, and common citizens alike to attend his shows. Ancient sources describe how audiences suffered through endless performances. Nobody was allowed to leave until Nero was finished. Some pretended to faint, others faked sudden illness, and there were even rumors of spectators feigning death just to be carried away. Nero also entered artistic competitions, especially in Greece, where he demanded to be crowned the victor every time. Once, during a chariot race, he fell from his vehicle and could not finish, but still declared himself the winner. To him, these contests were not about skill, but about reinforcing his image as a genius. His obsession with being adored as a performer blinded him to his responsibilities as emperor. Yet Nero believed himself a cultural revolutionary, a man destined to reshape Rome not through conquest, but through art. This dangerous delusion only deepened as he grew older, leading him further away from duty and deeper into vanity. And then, in 64 AD, tragedy struck the empire, an event that would forever tie Nero's name to fire and ruin. In July of the year 64, flames erupted in the heart of Rome. The fire raged for 9 relentless days, devouring temples, shops, and entire neighborhoods. Half the city lay in ashes. Thousands were left homeless, their lives destroyed. Amid the chaos, whispers began to spread. The emperor himself had ordered the fire. Why? Because Nero dreamed of building a palace so vast and magnificent that it would outshine all others. He would call it the Domus Aurea, the Golden House. This colossal complex would include pleasure gardens, an artificial lake, and a massive golden statue of Nero towering above the city. The most infamous tale soon spread across Rome. While the city burned, Nero stood on a high tower, dressed in theatrical costume, playing his lyre and singing of Troy's destruction. Whether this story was truth or slander remains debated, but the image was too powerful to forget. To many Romans, it symbolized an emperor who cared more about his art than his people, a ruler who found inspiration in destruction. Facing anger and suspicion, Nero needed someone to blame. He turned his wrath upon a small, despised sect, Christians. They were accused of starting the fire, and brutal persecutions followed. Men, women, and children were crucified, torn apart by beasts in the arena, or burned alive as human torches. This cruelty shocked even the hardened citizens of Rome. but it allowed Nero to escape immediate blame. Still, the shadow of the Great Fire would never leave his name. As Nero's reign continued, paranoia poisoned his mind. The relationship with his mother, Agrippina, collapsed when she tried to restrain his excesses. Determined to rid himself of her influence, Nero plotted her death. First, he arranged for a boat designed to collapse and drown her at sea. When she miraculously swam to shore, he sent assassins to finish the job. Rome was horrified. The emperor had murdered his own mother. But this was only the beginning. Nero soon turned against his beloved wife Octavia. Popular with the Romang people, she was a threat to his control. He accused her of adultery, exiled her, and eventually ordered her execution. Her head was sent to his mistress, Poppaea Sabina, whom he then married. Yet Nero's cruelty knew no bounds. According to ancient accounts, in a fit of rage he kicked Poppaea while she was pregnant, killing both her and their unborn child. Friends, senators, generals all lived in terror. A careless word, a whispered rumor, or a simple suspicion could mean death. Even Seneca, his former tutor and advisor, was forced to commit suicide when Nero believed he was part of a conspiracy. One by one, those closest to him fell, until the emperor was surrounded only by flatterers and fear. Nero's dream of being adored as an artist had turned into a nightmare of blood and betrayal. The empire could not endure his madness much longer. By 68 AD, rebellions erupted across the empire. Governors and generals no longer recognized Nero's authority. In Rome, the Senate declared him a public enemy, a shameful title for one who had once ruled the known world. Deserted by his guards, betrayed by his allies, Nero fled the city in disguise, accompanied only by a handful of loyal slaves. As he hid in a villa on the outskirts of Rome, Nero heard the hoofbeats of soldiers approaching. The end had come, desperate. He cried out, "What an artist the world is losing in me." He begged one of his companions to help him take his life. Finally, with trembling hands, Nero drove a dagger into his throat. At only 30 years old, the last emperor of the Julio-Claudian dynasty was dead. His final words, "Qualis artifex perio," would echo through history. What an artist dies in me. Rome did not mourn. The people rejoiced, senators celebrated, and the empire turned its eyes to new rulers. But even in death, Nero's legend lived on, larger than life. His story was not forgotten. Nero's reign left behind ashes, ruins, and a reputation that has endured for nearly 2,000 years. To his enemies, he was a monster, a matricide, a tyrant, a man who set fire to his own city and slaughtered the innocent. To some, however, he was remembered as a patron of the arts, a ruler who reduced taxes, sponsored games, and dared to live as he pleased. In later centuries, some historians argued that the stories of Nero's madness were exaggerated, written by those who despised him. Perhaps he did not burn Rome. Perhaps he was not as bloodthirsty as legend claims. Yet history is shaped not only by truth, but by memory. And in memory, Nero remains the mad emperor, the singer on the throne, the man who played music as his city turned to cinders. His name became a warning of how absolute power and unchecked vanity can destroy both a ruler and a nation. Not remembered as a statesman, nor a warrior, Nero entered the annals of history as something far darker, an artist obsessed with his own greatness, whose song was drowned by the screams of Rome. And so, through centuries of stories and whispers, Nero still stands as the emperor who sang while Rome burned.